Welcome to Fairway Nation, where we sit down with some of the coolest mortgage advisors and real estate pros to talk all things home buying, investing, and what it really takes to make it in this crazy market. Whether you're looking to buy your first home, level up your investments, or just want some insider tips, you're in the right place. We've got stories, advice, and maybe a few laughs along the way. So let's dive in. All right, welcome to the podcast. So this one's going to be shot a little different. We're in the same space, but we've got different angles of the cameras. We're going to try to create a little bit more dynamic of an experience because we have a special guest here today. I'm Michael. I'm marketing director at home.com, and today I'll be speaking with Conner Mansell, the founder of Brotherhampton Media, a video marketing company for real estate agents. It's really making a wonderful impact here in Fort Lauderdale and South Florida in general. Conner started in the business in 2019, and since then, he's been helping real estate professionals build standout brands. And he engages clients through video, which is right up my alley. He's originally from Cleveland, Ohio, OH.
IO.
He moved to Fort Lauderdale in 2020 to take his business to the next level. Conner, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. That was quite the introduction.
We're going to dive in a couple different ways today, and we're going to cover a few topics that I think is really going to resonate with real estate professionals in general throughout the entire industry, as well as mortgage advisors, real estate attorneys, people that are within the ecosystem of the real estate industry. I'm going to ask you some questions. They weren't really, I didn't share them with you ahead of time. I kind of gave you a little bit of an idea, but we're just going to kick it off, not in any particular order.
Okay.
I want to start with YouTube. I want to roll the sleeves up on YouTube. You've chosen YouTube as a key platform for real estate video marketing. What makes it such a powerful tool for agents?
YouTube. So that's a good question. So YouTube is the core. It's the core of everything that we do, right? Now we build an ecosystem around that using Instagram, TikTok, other, more friendly platforms, more familiar platforms. But the reason we chose YouTube as to what we're building our product around comes down to primarily two things, in my opinion, along with many others, but two main things. The first one being the ROI it gives you on your time. So think of passive versus active prospecting, right? Active prospecting being your cold calling, your door knocking, you're going to networking events, you're sending out mailers.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop, that marketing stops, correct? So
Yes.
If you don't pick up the phone one day, that marketing stops for you. With YouTube, that is more of passive prospecting, right? So Google owns YouTube, and what does that mean? SEO, search engine optimization, is what we base everything around. So basically, when it comes to YouTube, you're going to want to create search-driven content that your ideal audience is looking for on a consistent basis. So that way, if you post a video last month, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, you still have an opportunity to generate exposure, leads, conversations, and opportunities. Why? Because if you create the right videos, targeting the right people, and they're consistently and always searching them, you're going to pop up. So you're positioning yourself for more visibility and more opportunity, so to speak.
I get it. I love it. Search engine optimization is extremely important. That's how people find things.
Yeah.
Right. Some people don't know this. So we'll throw a little education in the mix. Did you know that Facebook is one of the largest search engines in the world? Right? Instagram. These are search engines. Of course, we do top down, Google, Yahoo, Bing. That's where people go for their resource, for their information. Think about how you do things as an average consumer. I don't think we're at a point now where if I want to go to a restaurant, I'm going to go first to Instagram. I might want to find out where the restaurant's located, what type of reviews it's going to have. And then I go, oh, let me go see what kind of food they have, right? And I head over to Instagram and I start engaging. Truth be told, that's exactly the experience that I had over this weekend as we were, traveling and going around to different areas. So it's extremely important to make sure that you're ranking keyword descriptions, things like that. So thank you for sharing that with us. That was like kind of a heavy one to open up with, right? Because people think that when you say YouTube, it's about influence or it's about videos and you got to have perfect video. You really don't. You can have a rudimentary video that's search engine optimized properly and really find success.
Completely. And the coolest part that I've seen being in the real estate space and creating a lot of community driven brand building content is I've had success stories where clients, they've switched brokerages or teams completely because they've been recruited from their content being searched online, which has been awesome. We've had people generate, $16 million leads for, the design portion, $16 million leads. I believe it was the design Porsche Tower in Brickell, Miami, when it was being built.
Yeah.
Cash buyer from Russia. The deal fell through. Point being, how else would you have gotten that opportunity if you weren't creating YouTube. If you cold called this same person, would he have picked up? Would he have been
That's
receptive?
it.
Probably not.
I
But
love
what he
that.
did was he went through a rabbit hole of his channel after watching one video, saying, okay, I kind of like this guy. I'm starting to trust this guy. And that kind of leads me to the
So
second main reason.
so before I cut you off there,
Good.
so does consistency kind of bring trust? So you see someone, is that what's happening there?
So consistency over intensity.
Okay, I
So
like that. Say that one more time.
consistency over intensity. Consistency always wins. And that goes to any facet in life, but especially when it comes to content. Now, I've been producing content personally for the past 4 or 5 years, every single week, dang near every 2 to 3 days.
Yeah,
And I will continue to do so.
yeah,
And that's exactly, that volume is also another key thing that we focus on.
that's
We're
true.
not creating one YouTube video a month.
Have I ever gone and played soccer with you?
You have not.
I have not, but I know you play soccer.
Correct.
So that's kind of a cool connector right there.
Yeah.
Is that I don't necessarily have to be doing the experience with you. I don't have to necessarily be in the moment with you, but on social, I can feel like I am. I can feel like I'm there, and we can share stories and talk about the things that you did, even though I wasn't even there, which in years past might have been a little creepy. But in business, in the life that we're presenting in our own personal brands, it's important to share a personal brand and put the things out there that we enjoy most. Right?
Yeah. So because when you are consistent and you're doing a lot more volume than maybe the average person, then you're giving more people the opportunity to learn things about you and relate to you. For example, if I only posted one video a month, so to speak, you wouldn't maybe know that I grew up playing soccer and that's a huge part of my life.
That's true.
But because I post so much, I have the opportunity to experiment and push out different types of content, put out different feelers. And I can't tell you how many times I've put stuff on my story, for example, being a Cleveland sports fan. Somebody who I never would have thought, who maybe I've had conversations with, potentially working together, they'll swipe up and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were a Cavs fan. I know you're a Browns fan.
Yeah,
I
that's so
apologize first and
cool.
foremost. It's typically what they say. They empathize with me.
That's so cool.
But I guess to kind of, to summarize or kind of tail end the YouTube conversation, the last point is kind of what we've been talking about is it is the number one YouTube brand building platform, in my opinion. Why? Because YouTube prioritizes and rewards longer form content. So what does that mean? They're spending more time with you, so to speak. And a lot of the times when you watch one YouTube video and you find it interesting, you go to another. That's 7 minutes spent with you without you having to actually talk to them on the phone. Then another 8 minutes, another 4 minutes, then another 12 minutes, then maybe a 60-minute long podcast. And before you know it,
I might want to go over and check you out on Instagram. I might want to go see what you're doing on other platforms. So that's why it's important to have your whole ecosystem airtight. But I do agree 100%.
100%.
YouTube is not new. It's not even new. So that's the toughest part is like a professional to doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to have it back. We're
yeah.
back, baby.
I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors with all these short form platforms and, our dopamine levels. We like things very quickly and, short sound bites, right?
People do often ask me why I don't engage more in fads, in things that are quick on the internet. I don't. I've been at the 30,000 foot level. I've seen things come and go. Right, fashion fades, style lasts forever. So I think it's important to dial into your style, your personal brand, what you enjoy doing. If you enjoy the fads, if you find success with the fads, that might be part of your style. But if you're not comfortable doing it, make sure you're staying true to your personal brand. So you don't have to buy into certain things. You don't have to copy what other people are doing or swipe and adapt. You can create your own lane. I think the future is going to be hyper niched, hyper targeted. Take a pyramid, flip it on its head. We're going to go from all of these eyeballs up here are going to be funneling down into very specific communities, right? Very specific platforms that if we were to name them here, even in this conversation, only a few people would even be familiar with them, right? Like Twitch or Discord or areas where very specific hyper niched conversations are happening. And you know what they say, riches are in the niches.
100%.
Right? So let's shift a little bit. Standing out online, underused strategies. It's a crowded space for real estate agents, right? That kind of segues into what we were talking about, fads and the fun stuff and cool stuff. But sometimes it puts the real estate professionals in a precarious or kind of a strange position or foreign territory, something they're not really used to doing. So let's talk a little bit about standing out online and a little bit about underused strategies. I want to kind of put those into one. All right.
Okay.
So you approach this a little bit differently. What advice do you have for professionals that are trying to set themselves apart?
So I think the number one piece of advice for professionals that want to stand out in their market, I would definitely say it's to let's look at this on a surface level, right? Instead of like, let's forget all the techniques or strategies, the higher level marketing, content, social media stuff. Let's look at this on a surface level. Be different. Do you know how simple that piece of advice is, but how complex we make it? For example, real estate agents, especially in Southeast Florida, South Florida here, it is so saturated. It's very competitive. And there's a lot of real estate worth a lot of money that needs to be sold, right? So what most real estate professionals do is they'll look at what other agents are doing, maybe ones that are producing high that maybe don't
Hmm.
prioritize video or content the way that somebody else might. And they'll just say, oh, they're posting just sold under contract. They'll go on Canva and generate, carousel posts with chat GPT captions. They just start looking to the left and right and they just start copying and pasting.
Right.
Whereas there are a few select agents that I'm thinking off the top of my head, and I would like to think some of the people we work with that are simply just marketing themselves online differently. Get your face on camera, do video, do it consistently, talk about different things, be yourself. Just because something works for someone does not mean it works for you. I might be, for example, somebody who specializes in luxury waterfront properties. I'm not going to market myself the same as somebody who, for example, focuses on luxury rentals in Brickell.
Right.
You cannot create the same type of content, the same type of videos because our audiences are different. So you're going to be speaking to the wrong people. And people don't understand that you are not selling to everyone.
That's
You,
true. That's a very important part. You don't need a million customers to create a career, right? You need to be able to hyper focus into what you're good at and what
yeah,
you're best at. What's good for one isn't good for another. You dropped some really awesome bombs in there, and I also think it's important to have the experience match whatever you're communicating. So it's awesome to like look at a career as like a spectrum, is what I usually say with professionals. And I say, where are you on the spectrum of your career? Because if you're brand new and you're starting right now, you have an awesome opportunity to approach the industry with a rookie mindset. You have a really good opportunity to do what's best for you. And if you're a little further on, I say, if you're here in the spectrum and you have experience, you have a really good opportunity to become a resource to people out there who desperately need the information that you can provide.
yeah,
Now, if you flip flop these people, you see how the tone can change, right? And how it could be not fake, but it just doesn't resonate. So if you have a rookie mindset and he's talking about, very intricate things, it doesn't resonate as well as a person who's talking about intricate things who's done them.
yeah,
Right. And then you take the intricate person and you've got them doing, getting hit by a car meme and then you go, call me now to talk real estate. I don't think that's what resonates. So you had some really awesome tidbits in there. I want to talk a little bit more about the underused strategies,
okay,
though. So let's get into strategies a little bit. The most important one that I think for you and your business is listing videos versus other content, right? Many agents
100%.
assume listing videos are essential. They are to list your property, to share your property, but you approach this differently. All right. Why don't you focus on listing videos personally, and what do you recommend instead?
So the reason that we built a product that doesn't involve listing videos is, and before I get into this, I will say listing videos are valuable. They will help you sell
Yes.
real estate.
Yes. So he's
And they,
not saying, first off, I have to preface it with, as a realtor myself, there are a lot of things, it's a big word, that need to be focused on when you're doing real estate, right? It's important to be on the behalf of the client, right? To be a resource, to understand. So um, Conner is not a realtor or a licensed real estate professional. So when he's
correct.
sharing this information, he's giving you the best practices of what he sees out in the marketplace. So what he's providing you is information that as a professional, you've got to take that information and see how it fits into your business in the best ways possible. So I don't want you to get the impression that he's saying, don't do listing videos. He's talking about
Correct.
his business and what's important to him and what he sees in the marketplace. So I did want to give a little bit of a background there
They're
so that
super
people,
important.
yeah, it is extremely important, because then we're going to end up having we'll go viral for the wrong reasons, right? We'll
Yeah,
end up having tons of,
100%.
you don't do listing video. How do you survive? You have to do that, even if it's with a cell phone. I
Yeah.
mean, you be the agent in the mirror. That's a bit of a joke within the real estate profession. You end up being the person in the mirror, but at least you're doing it. Do something.
Yeah,
So we'll get
100%.
back to it. I'll digress back to the question. It was listing videos versus other content. You approach it differently. You focus on listing. You don't focus on listing videos. So what do you recommend instead?
So we recommend YouTube and we recommend the short form platforms. So
Mhm.
that's obviously what we build our product around. So The reason for this primarily is most of the market, as we just talked about, being different and standing out in your marketplace, all everyone does is, oh, I have a listing. I'm going to create a video. I'm going to do a listing video. Welcome to 1 through 3. So. That works. I get it. But what about in between listings? What about the 2 weeks, the 4 weeks, the 8 weeks, the 12 weeks that you have business that run dry?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You created a listing video for this $5 million property, this $1 million property, whatever the case is. But what's the shelf life of that video after the home sells?
Have you ever seen like a video online and like they show you like Texas and like this is a $1.5 million mansion and they go through and it's the most beautiful mansion you ever saw, and then they zoom out with the aerial and it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's literally in the middle of the state.
What am I going to do with that? So now you've provided a beautiful video. You're probably going to get a ton of attention. You're going to have people ask questions. But as a professional, it's most important. We were talking about this kind of before we got on. This is an opinion of mine. It's most important as a professional, sales professional, to not wheel spin, right? You guys will hear that's like the commonly used phrase, right? And you want to build relationships and you want to have relationships, but there's a fine line between building relationships and doing business, and then a bit of wheel spinning, right? So you don't want to get into what have become practices that lead to wheel spinning, right? So you don't want to just like do a simple video and then walk away from it. Kind of the days of kind of set it and forget it from that capacity have kind of gone. It's shifted into other things and other ways to set and forget things. So I think to decipher through what you're saying and to add a little more sauce to it. So do you have an example of a listing that you've done here? And instead of doing the listing video, did you go around with the realtor and show the area? Did you talk more about say like schools and restaurants and hot spots and things to do there? Did that turn into more dynamic content? And how did that look? What was like the result for that real estate agent? Let's use a real example. If you want to throw a name out, feel free. We're happy to give people shout outs. That's awesome. Why not?
Yeah. So I think, first and foremost, create the listing video, but a spin on it to make it be more evergreen, because like I said,
that's a hot word, evergreen. We'll circle back to that one.
Right. So in between listings, okay, what type of content are you creating? If only when you get a listing, you're creating the videos, right? So the way that you can make this more evergreen and be more consistent is, okay, maybe do a neighborhood tour. Let's just take Central Beach, for example. Say you have a listing in Central Beach.
Where is Central Beach in downtown, in like East Fort Lauderdale? What are some big heavy roads, like crossroads?
That's a question that I don't know, because I'm still, I'm transplant. I don't know the specific roads, but
would that be like Oceanside?
Yeah, it's right on the ocean. It's the Fort Lauderdale Beach Strip, basically, and a bunch of condos. Very historic neighborhood, to my knowledge, kind of in between Hugh Taylor Birch State Park and like Las Olas, like in that condensed area.
Exactly.
But point being, right? So say you have a nice listing, maybe it's like a $1.5 million listing. Okay, so instead of the video that you create for that listing being,
so what does this 1-1 look like?
I mean, it's probably,
anyone watching this, if you're not in the South Florida market, New York market, or LA market, that would be a bit of an inside joke, right?
Yeah,
so we're talking about a property that you'd say 1.5 million. I just mentioned one in Texas. Here, that might be a little different. That might be a 1-1 or a 2-2.
Yeah, to the rest of the country, take your standard single family home, and it's just the kitchen. Yeah. That's what it is, $1.5 million. But instead of just showcasing the actual property itself, showcase the entire area as a whole. Do a spotlight on the entire Central Beach neighborhood in the amenities, the restaurants, the bars, the places to go, the things to do, the places to see, maybe the different types of people who came in and in and out of that historic neighborhood over time, how walkable it is, things like that. And then in that video, punch into the property. Oh, and by the way, here's an example of a property within this neighborhood. So that way you created a piece of content that is for Central Beach. Oh, and by the way, I have a listing here. I've sold real estate here. Here's an example of what it's like. Punch back out and then refocus on everything else in the area.
I love this. For me, it's like a role reversal. If you can see me, if I'm looking here and I'm like, I look like proud papa. We're not in business together, but when you're in an industry together, you kind of feel like a relationship to the industry and the experiences that you have. That could go for any industry. If realtors talk to realtors or doctors talk to doctors. So I'm sitting here as a marketing professional who's looking back, and saying like, this is incredible to hear all the wonderful things you're saying that have just been so important to my career and the things that I preach to professionals on a daily basis. So you have to listen. You're kind of getting two sides of that spectrum that I had referenced a moment ago. And it's fantastic because I'm sitting here getting excited and hearing you kind of go through, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I would tell people when I would meet them early on, be prepared for this experience. It's passion, right? It's creativity. It's something that's going to drive you as a sales professional. You have to read through it and look through it because I'm sure I know for a fact you're a very even-keeled person. You're a very like kind of quiet, reserved. I mean, I've even gone by you like in my golf cart, Los Solis, and you're just enjoying time with your girlfriend. Hey, Connor's, oh, wow, what's up? Connor's not like but when he comes out of his shell and we talk marketing, right? And we talk videos and we talk things, you get excited, you get passionate. So it's so good that we have that kind of same thing. And look for professionals that get light up when you talk about your industry or light up when you talk about creativity. I think that's so exceptionally important. What I'd like you to do for me, please. So you painted a beautiful picture. And if you go back a few minutes, listen to what Conner painted the picture of. Tell me, get down to the ground level and explain the minutia really quick for me of what it takes for a real estate professional to accomplish this with you. Because the reason why I prefaced it with my perspective versus his perspective is not to talk about career. It's not to talk, we're on even eyes. We're eye to eye. However, now I get this unique opportunity where I can go, or somebody would say to me, whoa, slow down. I'm not totally understanding how we're going to do this. Right. I don't have a week to do this. I can't be shooting multiple times in a month. I have to do work. I have to do business. Explain to a person who might have seen that and said, whoa, because I'm excited. I'm still genuinely excited and I want to figure this out. Right. But as a sales professional, that might have gotten me to like say, that's a lot. Explain what the picture looks like. Explain what you do with real estate professionals.
So the product we sell is we produce 72 videos in just 2 days of filming. What that provides you is weekly YouTube videos and bi-weekly short form videos for 6 months, completely on autopilot. So a lot of pre-production and planning go into those 2 days, a lot of figuring out your core identity, your niche, who are we speaking to, script writing. A lot of agents probably underplay the nuances and what's required to actually write beautifully.
They're learning. ChatGPT has definitely burned a few chaps. So they're understanding that it might not be the best resource for information as much as it's a kind of an assistant for you, something to help you. You provide it with information and it'll couple those things together. Yes. So yeah, extremely important. Storytelling. Right?
So obviously being able to take all this information about, for example, a neighborhood or the top 5 restaurants in your area and be able to condense it into a script that is concisely delivered and digestible to the camera, as well as the last component of that pre-production phase is ideation, right? So we have to be able to create videos that speak directly to your target audience. And that's something just to, finalize the pre-production phase going into those 2-day shoots is this is why you can't copy and paste, because just because somebody's creating a YouTube video about luxury waterfront properties in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, does not mean you should. Just because you went and you saw that it has X amount of views does not mean you should create that. So a lot of this pre-production requires a lot of higher level strategy, a lot of collaboration, speaking with the agent, figuring out how we're going to tailor this marketing rollout for the next half year. And then the 2-day shoot. The reason we do everything in 2 days up front for the 6 months is because producing real estate agents, what do you guys not have the time for? Meeting up weekly, twice a month, even once a month. I've tried it. Believe me, this is why we built this product around being efficient.
Right.
It's being respectful of your time and allowing you to focus on the things that you need to focus on. And that's producing, that's operating your day-to-day, etc. So we go into these 2-day shoots and we just have the 2 days so systematized and so efficient to where we're creating these 24 YouTube videos in 2 days, along with 48 short form videos. And just so you guys know, we're actually producing more. And then we're taking the best of everything that we do, and then we're rolling it out every 2 to 3 days for the next 6 months. And the posting and optimizing on the back end is extremely important. So a lot of agents, they assume, okay, let's produce 72 videos. Let's roll out a bunch of content for the next 6 months. They think that if they just post, leads will come in, opportunities will come in, brand deals will come in, which we've seen, by the way.
Sometimes, sometimes in unique positions, it does happen, of course.
But a lot of it is not understanding how to optimize a video correctly and how to actually post and launch those videos. That's for the short form platforms, but especially the back end of YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah, real estate professionals, I don't know where you are, if you're an agent or a broker, um, employee to owner, systems. That's how you scale. You got to have a system in order to scale. The one man band days have kind of gone. You've got to be on teams that can grow your business over time, whether that mean operationally or from a support perspective. We believe very heavily in that here at Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. It's a team of individuals that go toward a common goal. But like I said in a previous meeting that we had, a goal can fail, but a system can scale.
Yep.
So it's important that the professionals, when they see this, like, there are a lot of things you can do on your own, and there are a
Correct.
lot of things that are innovative or new or fun to lean into. But also think of your own career and the things that you know, delegate to others, empower others with doing in order to progress your career and help you. This marketing stuff's new, right? The industry's not, but the digital stuff is,
Yeah,
right? So it's
correct.
foreign
Especially video.
territory. It feels new. I was with a person over the weekend who was talking. He says he's AI drone like developer. He does this like for a living. That's our 11 a.m. alarm. He does this for a living, and he didn't want to be the dad that was too, you know, doing the videos and
Right.
editing the reels and doing all that stuff. And I said, why not? Why not? There's no age in time where that happened before.
Mm-hmm.
So you might feel like you're being the dad that's like doing it, but you're taking a feeling or comparison from something that's like days past, that
Yeah.
you're not telling. It's the dad who'd say, go out and practice and go get your stuff done. In this scenario, this could turn into a whole new business. It turn into a whole new career, right?
100%.
We've got the guys in Boca Raton. I could shout them out. AJ and Big Justice. Here comes the boom, a father and son.
Yeah.
Costco guys, the chocolate chip cookies. And that looked like a ton of fun. Father, son, having a good time. Now I'm able to talk about, everyone knows who they are. How
Yeah.
cool is that?
Yeah. 100%.
So you're sharing some really good insights, really good gems. And I appreciate you being a person who's willing to be a resource to so many other people, to help other people, to freely share this information to others. That's incredible. But I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about you, because we're here to talk about you. That's what we want to talk about, Conner. I want to get to know Conner a little bit. They're not deep questions. They're really just to kind of understand you a little bit more from a surface level.
Yeah.
The spark for video. Where'd that come from? How'd you get into video? Where'd your passion for video start? And was there a specific moment or project that lit the fire for you?
So I did not grow up doing video, having any interest in it, even really understanding it. It solely came about from an opportunity. So in college, I started my first business. It would have been my junior year, and it was just a soccer training business, privatized one-on-one small group training for soccer players. And how we were promoting ourselves was just social media, as anyone who's 19, 20 years old would do, starting their first business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were just creating content, posting videos from our phone, just showcasing the sessions. It's actually on Instagram. You can check it out. It's Brotherhampton Soccer Academy. It's my first ever business, and now this is Brotherhampton Media, and I'll show you how we kind of bridge the gap there. But basically, in Northeast Ohio, we were super connected. Obviously, both of us, my partner at the time I'm referring to, we grew up in Northeast Ohio, super connected in soccer. So a club reached out to us and they're like, hey, we see what you're doing online, creating all these videos. You guys are young, you're starting this business. It's awesome. Do you guys want to build some sort of synergistic or mutually beneficial relationship? So what we ended up doing was kind of going in-house for them and doing training in exchange, coaching some of their teams. So they gave us the resources of their facilities, equipment, things like that, and even their teams, right? And that relationship started to prosper a little bit. And we continued to, remain independent and build our brand using social media and video. That's how we were getting exposure. We were posting our training sessions online.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing led to another. They actually called us in for a meeting one day and they're like, hey, would you guys be willing to create this type of content and produce social media content for our, soccer training business?
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, well, we could do it for them in-house, but I was like, why don't we start the media branch of our soccer training business? So it was an opportunity. And with that first contract that we closed, which was very, very, very small relatively, but it was our first opportunity, and we got a camera with it because we're like, okay, if they're going to hire us and we're going to start the media branch of our company, let's get a camera. So we went to Best Buy. One of my buddies was working there. I was like, hey, we got a small contract to produce content for these people. We need a camera that's good for sports.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically just took us down the aisle. He's like, I think this one looks good. And then we just had the stock lens and the camera
What
body.
kind of
And
camera was it?
I think it was a Canon 80D.
Canon. Yeah, I was shooting in
I
Canon
think it was
too
a
early
Canon
on.
80D. We might have bought, no, I think we just used the kit lens at the time.
Yeah.
And point being, we just used that camera and we started going out to different soccer games and practices and camps and started just creating content for them. And that's where the spark started, because one thing led to another. And then I think within about 6 to 12 months, the media branch of our business started getting more attraction because now we were being referred out to everyone they were connected with in the soccer
Of
sphere.
course, yeah.
And we started closing a couple other smaller contracts. And before we knew it, we had some people helping us out part time, going to games on weekends that we couldn't make it, or if we had to be in more than one place. And it just started to grow rather. And before I knew it, the momentum of that media side of our business took over the training, and training was long gone. We
That's
kind of
it.
stopped and shut that part of our life down and just leaned into the media stuff. And from the point that we properly leaned into the media
Mhm.
and took it seriously and did it full time,
Mhm.
brought in two partners to the business, and within 8 to 9 months, we moved down from Cleveland, Ohio, where we established the business and started to get some traction, to South Florida, so where we are today.
Nice.
So
That's
it
awesome.
purely happened off an opportunity.
I love that. I love that. I had put my glasses on because I thought it was going to be like a nerdy story, but it wasn't nerdy. I'm glad I have my Adidas on, so it's good. And here we go. All right, so I appreciate you sharing that with me. That sounds fantastic. It's not much different than a movie I had watched on the airplane about the Nordic basketball team. It was as you were talking about that, it kind of went right
Mhm.
back to the reference of that, and it was picking up the camera, just shooting, and it was about basketball, and it was
Okay.
kind of like, and it was the Canadian and one, and these kids just started filming it, and it became stuff of legend. I mean, so I was watching it, and I'm like, as a young kid, I'm like, I knew everything they're talking about from like a VHS tape. It was a VHS tape. I get goosebumps in Canada that ultimately traveled the entire world to the point that it's now still a thing that's celebrated in Japan. So
Nice. Okay.
you never know what like little spark is going to turn into a giant flame, right? And I could share so many other examples that are similar to your story. So it's fantastic that you've had that experience.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks to just saying yes to opportunities and not being closed minded, especially at your age. Take a page out of Gary Vee's book,
That's it.
taste more, do more,
That's
be
it.
more. And you'll find along the way the things you don't like and do like. I never would have imagined in college. I got a general business degree with a minor in finance and entrepreneurship. I never considered media, thought about it, liked it, appreciated it. I never would have even considered it as a career path. And I've been doing this for the past 5, 6 years now. And it's been nothing short of a blessing. And it's quite frankly, I think it's hopefully part of my calling and coming into my own, and just the idea of creating.
Yeah, I think it is. I think you've definitely touched enough people in terms of their career at this point, and you will continue to do so. So, good people know good people. I believe the greatest art form in the world is good business, right? So it's great that you found a passion out of another passion, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we all become professionals in something, right? And I love sitting with other athletes because we can put the experience into, it's like the physical and the mental and
Yep.
everything from that into an industry, and wow, you're now a professional. Now
Yeah.
you know where it comes from. Let me ask you a question, if you know this, and he was not prepared for this, so he doesn't know the answer. He's not prepared. What's the difference between a professional and an amateur?
The difference between a professional and an amateur is a professional does things even when they don't feel like it. An amateur does things only when they feel like it.
Dang, yours is way better than mine. Difference between professional and amateur is getting paid to do what you do. And
Okay.
even if that first payment was $1, just
Yeah.
a little bit, you got paid.
Yeah.
You're a pro,
Yeah.
right? So whatever comes out of that, I remember early on in my career, I would say, look at this website. Doesn't it look professional? I mean, of course it's professional. I'm a professional. So
Mhm.
it's really cool to see people share that story of the first time that they crossed the threshold and were like, it wasn't much, but it meant the world, and I would have done it for free, just like you said. And to this
Right.
day, as professionals, we continue to do things complimentary or for free, for the sake of a relationship, to help
Yep.
others. It's extremely important. I even opened up with a title, and oftentimes people ask me what I do for a living, and even Conner was in the situation. He doesn't know what I do for a living.
Yeah, I
I
still
think
don't.
even still sitting with me, he doesn't. But the short of it is, I help people. I said, help people. And you do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I've only got two more questions for you. We're going to
Okay.
wrap it up. But I'd like to understand the challenges of being a full-time creative for the people that are watching this. Being a full-time creative brings its own unique challenges. Can you share some of the struggles you faced and how you've worked through them?
Yeah, I totally can. That's a great question. I'd love to hear, some of the experiences you've had with this as well.
Hmm.
So I think some of the struggles of being a creative is I have really found a fire for creating, and that's personally and professionally. And I think the duality of it is that when you start to do it as a business and a livelihood and you start to make money doing it, sometimes you get lost in only doing that and you stop creating personally or for yourself. And I have gone through so many seasons. It's definitely cyclical of focusing so much on the business and all my clients and creating all this beautiful content for other people. Whereas I would go 6, 9 months, sometimes even a year without even creating one thing for myself. And what I've realized is that when I started to neglect creating for myself personally and going back to my roots and that youthful energy around just creating for fun,
Yeah.
I realized that I start to not appreciate my business or my livelihood as much. And it takes away from it. And I even start to dislike it to some extent.
Right.
So I think, as I grow into this and as every month and year passes, I definitely am finding more of a balance, so to speak, even though they're blended together.
I think that's awesome. That's almost segueing into a mic drop moment there. We give so much of ourselves. Um, Oftentimes, we provide the final result or the final outcome of what we've created, and then that creation goes off into the world like a parent. And
Yeah.
if you've ever had like a kid go off, I'm not a parent, but I do have my puppy. You saw Aspen get in here. Um, you just see, you don't get to feel and experience what the professionals are that are sharing that, who are getting what an exceptional response, or how much it resonated with their people, or how important it was to them. So go out there today, hug your creative. If you got a video
Hmm.
person, a graphic designer, somebody that helps you with your marketing and your advertising, I'm very fortunate here. I get that kind of love just about every single day. But we do burn out, right? It is
Yeah.
difficult, and I
So
think you
real.
you definitely hit an exceptional nerve in that creatives want to be creating all the time. So yeah, if you're ever hitting that burnout, get out there and create. I definitely resonate with that. So I think the challenge to ourselves would be to continue to do stuff like this, to lean into groups and communities of other creatives that can help us to continue to create. Because one of the most impactful things I did in the relative near past was to sit with you at
Yeah.
Paul Ringon's brokerage. And Paul Ringon, the irony, Paul Ringon ends up being a fraternity brother of mine
Yeah.
from the University of Central
It's
Florida.
crazy
The roller
ties.
coasters and the way that we don't know how people are connected, you gave me a platform like I'm giving you at the moment, and it resonated with my people. I mean, I told maybe two or three stories out of 3,000,
Yeah.
and to this day, I'm still getting people that are like, that was an exceptional story, or I remember that story, or it resonated with me. I was so scared to drop a lot of this stuff because I don't want it to seem self-serving. I don't want it to seem like it's all about me, but I do want to share stories.
Yeah.
And
That's
I know
important.
you're kind of in the same position and other creatives are. So if you feel this way, please share. You can even go back to some of the posts that I had done where I was so nervous to talk about specific people. Like you had mentioned the Porsche Design Tower. Instantly, my head goes to the Desert family, who are exceptional builders in construction in South Florida and beyond. I mean, who are really good at what they do. So it's always great to associate the brand with the human being. So
Yes.
some of the
100%.
stories that I told, if you were able to go through in the comments, you'd see some of
Yeah.
them commented and like totally solidified and backed up that story. So it might not be, viral, but it was at some point, or it was connected to something else. And that's where I think creatives can get the deflating experience.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
I
to
did
those,
that. That was mine. That was my baby. But then there's also the other hand that
right.
it wasn't. It was a client. It
Hmm.
was for a professional. So it's good to kind of mesh those two worlds into one.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, to those few people that you had those relationships with and did business with and made an impact on and created awesome work for, like those stories mean so much to them and it cultivates memories. And like you said, burnout as a creative is so real and we have to create personally and continue to do so because of the memories and how excited we get from creating. I even think how you just mentioned how when we sat down the other day, maybe about a month or two ago now, like that was such a rewarding conversation. And this doesn't feel like work.
Right.
Even think about the little collaboration with Moke.
Mhm.
That was so fun.
So fun.
That was
So
so
fun.
fun. And
Shout out
like,
Fritz. Shout out Anko. We mentioned Anko in the story. That was
yeah,
Van Dutch. So Moke was Van Dutch, Anko's like business partner and friend. So yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty wild. How that's another like kind of full circle kind of moment where
Yeah.
things connect. It goes back and resonates with good people know good people. It's extremely important to do good business, and quitting is not an option. Okay, it can get stressful, it can get tough, it can get hard. You can get paid at different points in the spectrum, either on the front or on the back. So you're kind of working toward a carrot, or maybe you've already eaten the carrot. Quitting is not an option. That's the one thing I can say in my career. That's what brings the consistency, because you can't quit. You got to
Yeah.
wake up. It's a new day. So it's exceptionally important to make sure that we're checking in on each other, right? That we're here to like, even, it doesn't matter if it's a superficial digital relationship or if it's a day-to-day face-to-face relationship.
Yep.
Got to check in on each other above and beyond. Are you good? Right? We've got to know that
Mm-hmm.
things are good, right? And talk about things and create more and help each other. So I want to segue that into the last question I'm going to have for you.
Okay.
All right, building a personal brand without vanity, right? We want to be humble in our approach. We have a bunch of books over here. You can't see it. We're not in a back room. We're in an office setting right now. You're more than welcome to come check us out any day. But one of the books over there is Humble, Hungry, and Smart. So that's an extremely important thing here in our ecosystem. But building a personal brand without vanity, there's a fine line between building a personal brand and coming across as self-centered. How do you approach posting online to highlight your work and expertise without seeming vain? And I definitely that resonates a lot with me. Kind of it's great we told that story, right? Because it's
Yeah.
that's why I don't turn on the camera by myself and just sit in a room and talk to the camera. Anytime I watch videos like
Yep.
that, I get so creeped out from a production standpoint, because I know what it took to make that, and it
Yeah.
makes me feel, oh, that was a great question. Thanks for asking me that. Anyway, what I was saying, it's so scripted. It's so like it's not organic. It's not real. How do you avoid that and stay humble at the same time?
So I would love to just discuss this collaboratively. It's something I've been thinking about recently because in marketing, psychology, business, you see ego creep to the surface in a lot of different ways, and especially on the marketing side of
And it's
things.
oftentimes rewarded.
Yeah,
That it hurts, like people who are very authentic and genuine and organic, right? Because you see like a shortcut, and we don't take shortcuts,
yeah,
right?
and think of any ad creative you see from any marketer or guru or course person. It's I help this person go from 50K a month to 150K a month. They're wearing a Rolex and they're in front of a Cybertruck on a parking garage in downtown Los Angeles, and they are flexing and they are positioning themselves and perceiving themselves a certain way to manipulate the audience. Granted, they may have a product that actually does help people
Mm-hmm.
grow their businesses, etc. But that's the thing when it comes to especially personal brands, right? So we talk about how do you do it in a way that isn't vain or that's
Right.
not ego driven. And I think about this often, and I'm trying to be much more conscious and self-aware of how I communicate my message. And that's extremely important because on one side you go, okay, I have these skills, this expertise, this experience, this knowledge, and these client success stories that you more or less need as social proof or proof in general to grow your business and to acquire more clients because people want to know if you can actually help grow their business, right? That's business. That part of it is sure transactional. However, how do you do that in a way to where you're not showing off? And especially for me personally, my personal brand is my business. My Instagram profile, for example, if you go to it at Recreating Con, that is literally my business. However, I do primarily use it for my business. I do still use it personally, right? I like to showcase where I live. I love where I live. I love to I love to take photos of my girlfriend and I put them on our story, people I'm hanging out with. But then on the other side, I have to create content that positions me as an expert because I have to communicate my knowledge. I have to showcase my skills. I have to show off my work, so to speak. So I'm trying to figure out the balance of creating content and communicating in a way that isn't vain because think of it this way too, right? I live in Fort Lauderdale, South Florida. To most people, when
It's
I
just part of it. It's just part of like it's part of like the nature. It's here, and I mean,
it's tough because
unavoidable
it's
in some
to
cases,
some
right?
people who maybe know me from other areas of the country, they might look at like what I'm posting and think I'm showing off where I live constantly or I'm bragging and I'm not. I'm showing off videos and
Let's
content.
talk on that for a second, because I want to
Yeah,
connect the dots on that for a
let's do it.
second, and we'll bring people in. And it's been a long meeting. It's been a long interview and podcast, but it's a good one. This is solid. There's a ton of information in here,
Right.
so I hope people enjoy it. But I can digress back to a real world example of our relationship
Mm-hmm.
that this will resonate in, where you experienced it. It's something that's built into my business. The brands are always ahead of me. I've never really looked at people, and people find success with it. And maybe one day I'll find success with it. Maybe I'll be 45 years old like a Gary Vee, but I'm not there yet. So I don't know who I'm going to become.
Right.
But in this very moment now, I don't appreciate the ones that are so self-serving to put the brands in front of themselves. Now, I appreciate to not put the brands in front of themselves. I
Right.
appreciate satire. I appreciate characters. I think that's a very, like, wit is one of the strongest forms of human intelligence, right? So some of the things that you can see online are excellent, but when a person puts a brand in front of them, it's not authentic, it's not organic, it's not genuine. So what you're saying there, like what I'm hearing is the Cybertruck, and then I'm hearing the Louis Vuitton belt, and then the Audemars watch, and then so you're hearing a bunch of brands before you ever get to the content itself.
Yeah.
Now, the real world example that we had was with Moke. So when you had reached out to me, I think AJ had reached out to me, right? So it was kind of
One
like
of
a
the
mix
two
of
of
the
us.
two. So
Yeah.
shout out to AJ
There's a
Butler.
couple of us on there.
He's an up and coming real estate professional here in East Fort Lauderdale. He's gone full time. He's hanging his license with Paul Ringon at Ringon Homes. They're doing exceptional work. You are an intricate part of that. An absolute blessing to them. Paul Ringon is, just so you know, he's an absolute wealth of knowledge
He's
in marketing.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
he's like a sleeper. You don't know that, but he is exceptional.
He's a
So
stud. Yeah.
I love the stuff that he does. And that's just not me being biased. I think he's fantastic. So with Moke, I reached out and he said, we need a supercar for a shoot on Las Olas. We're going to go
Right.
down the aisles and I need a supercar. And my first response was like, why? And you're like, because it's going to look good. And I'm like, but it's kind of like BYOS, like bring your own supercar.
Right.
You know, if I'm moving into South Florida, I'm probably buying the property to park the yacht. You know, that's
Yeah.
one of the most intricate sayings in the Venice of America. A $14 million yacht, a $3 million property. You know, so where 3 million, 5 million, 7 million sounds like a lot, then you look at the yacht in the back and it's 14, 20,
Twice the
30 million,
amount. Yeah.
right? So these are assets at the end of the day. I don't think people who have assets, who own planes and yachts and things like that, are necessarily impressed by it. I know for a fact that I'm not. I know for a fact that the people in my world and ecosystem are not. It very come as you are, flip flops, right? If the scenario requires that. So I'm not saying there are people that are walking to a boardroom in flip flops. Everybody has a sense of decorum, but you tend to find people on Las Olas in flip flops and shorts, right? And then you talk to them and ask what they do, and they're millionaires and they're billionaires. They're heads of industry. It's like, it's really incredible. So what I said was, I mean, wouldn't you be better off with like a really souped up kind of something that people use in this environment?
That you
And
see more, quite
right.
honestly, than a supercar.
So the Moke was an interesting thing because at that time, Henry Cavill had a movie that was out, Argyle.
Okay.
And that was Henry Cavill bought a house on Las Olas from my broker. It was built by VCM companies and Mackin, where I hang my license as a realtor. So Henry Cavill bought this house on Las Olas. And then he's casted in this movie Argyle, and Argyle's featuring the Moke in America. And I know this is dropping just a few months from when we're doing this video, and saying, no, the supercar is not going to resonate with the market. The Moke is going to resonate.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a microcosm experience where you have to know your market. You have to lean into the things that happen in your market. Peacocking is not necessarily going to win you more relationships. Positioning really is not going to win you the right type of relationships.
I agree.
We can go full circle, and we were talking about wheel spinning and stuff like that. It's kind of an ironic example of a Cybertruck and stuff, but that stuff can tend to lead to a lot of wheel spinning, a misunderstanding, right? So for the supercars, for me, the short of it was my connection and is my connection to the auto toy store.
Yeah.
Right? It's branding, it's marketing, it's advertising. So you come to me and say, oh, this guy's got a supercar. I don't own a supercar. I don't have a fleet of supercars. I don't rent out supercars. But if a brand or a personal brand can benefit from that, by all means.
If it's in alignment, right?
100%. Collaboration, right? People at this level are competing. People at this level, what are we doing up here?
They're collaborating.
We're collaborating.
And that's, to tie all that together, that's where creating content online, especially for someone who's never done it for as many years as maybe we have, it really is tough to be authentic online. I know we talked about that in our last conversation, but you do things like that. For example, hey, we're producing this tour of Las Olas Isles. We want a supercar. However, AJ and I both can probably agree that we are not people who A, have supercars, B, can afford a supercar. Right. And, in the same vein, how do you show up online authentic to yourself? Because I go through this thing in my head where okay, I have to be professional. I have to wear nice pants, a nice shirt, whatever. I don't have any nice jewelry. I've never been into fashion. I've never appreciated brands like that. That's just me personally. And most of the time when I'm working at home, I'm in a hoodie and sweatpants and slippers or Crocs.
Yeah.
And then when I go out in the field, yeah, I have to dress professional. I have to be a professional. I understand that. And I've been just trying to improve my content to make it more personable to me, to where you get more of what you see is what you get. Because I've asked my friends over the years who are from Ohio and Cleveland, I say, hey, like when you see the content I create online, is it me? And they just like laugh. They go, that's not how I know you. You're always joking, laughing, being unserious, having fun,
Right.
messing around, saying wild, reckless stuff, right?
Yeah.
Just how guys
Yeah.
like to talk, like locker room talk, stuff like that. And then I got online on this professional light camera, da 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 da, all this stuff, right? So now I've just been trying to lean more into being more of myself because although sure, maybe a real estate brokerage or agent who's producing $1 million a month
Hmm.
in production, maybe he doesn't want to relate to me who maybe doesn't prioritize or value those things like he does. Maybe we have a disconnect there. But there are people out there who like to laugh and have fun and be unserious. And
I do. I like
those are
having
the
fun.
people who I'm trying to attract. So I think if that's a good way of tying it all together,
It
that's
is.
just the complex and duality of content.
Yeah.
And it's new and it's always improving and it's a constant battle to just cross or to continue to check yourself as much as you can while you're posting online because you will be perceived one way and it may not always be the way that you want to be perceived.
Stay true to you. Stay authentic. That's what I'm hearing. Um, find that fine line of like you and your personality and you and the professional, right?
Correct.
Even sitting here in
Correct.
this video, that's the thing that I kind of run into from time to time. And
Yeah.
people tell me that if I would just be the person that I am in the video that we did together,
Yeah.
it'd be gone. It'd be lights out. I'd be around the world and back, and then I dress kind of differently in a professional scenario. However, I'm exceptionally comfortable. This works for me. This is my Mark Zuckerberg. This is my ability to put on a polo and a nice pair of pants and a specific pair of shoes every
Yeah.
single day. So you've got to find the what's true to you is what
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing, right? Is to be authentic to your personal brand.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sitting with me, man. Thanks so much for sharing your insights and sharing yourself with me, a little piece of you,
Of
leaving that
course.
here out
Yeah.
on the field. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners? Maybe a piece of advice or something you've learned along the way?
So a piece of advice or something I've learned along the way. Let me think about that. That's a great question. This can be personally or professionally.
100%. This is what I call our mic drop moment. This is our mic drop moment.
Our mic drop
Yeah.
moment with Mike. Okay, so I would say to do and invite the uncomfortable deep work with yourself. A lot of us, including myself, and especially recently in this calendar year, I think I've avoided and have been running away from problems or things that I didn't want to address or face about myself for years. And I'll tell you this is things will come to surface at some point. There will be a trigger. Sometimes it's trauma, devastation. Maybe it's a high, high or a low, low. These problems, if you don't face them and do the deep, uncomfortable work, they will come back to bite you and they will send you into a spiral that you won't be prepared for. So, what I can say is stop suppressing and distracting yourself from the work that you need to do on yourself. Because if you continue to neglect that, you will never grow into the version of yourself that you need to become.
That's it. What more do we say from here? Do you know a guy named Dan Fleischman?
That sounds familiar. I've heard of him. He's in the social media space, or he
Yeah.
has been. I've seen.
He's doing the same song and dance that I do whenever people say like Gary V to me or things like that, because I don't really 100% follow the people that I guess I tend to be a lot like. And now that I have seen who these people are, right in line, of course, those are the kind of people I want to be like. Check out Dan Fleischman. I
Okay.
think you'd get a kick out of him. You remind me a ton of Dan Fleischman.
Okay.
He does a lot of charity. He does a lot of philanthropy. Most of what he does is intricately tied to brands and coaching. And I think he owns a farm in Southern California where he does every Monday, the Money Mondays. And he asks 3 questions to extremely high level professionals. Kind of what kicked off my interest in wanting all this podcast equipment and wanting to do this type of thing. So
Yeah.
check out Dan Fleischman. He's
Okay.
a
I
good,
appreciate that.
yeah.
I'll check him
But
out.
we don't have Dan here. We have Conner and Michael. So Conner Mansell, Brotherhampton Media. I hope you enjoyed this, and we're gonna do more, right?
Absolutely. What's next? Appreciate you.